So you know this business over a number of years from the point of view of cable as well as now streaming, you understand it. Give us your sense of how fundamental the shift is as we, I guess, are moving away from cable pretty quickly into the streaming world.
It's all exploded right in front of our faces. There's more change hitting media today than ever in the course of either of our careers. It's all accelerated so much. And ultimately, it comes down to consumers embracing the idea that they really do have total control in the media ecosystem.
One of the things that strikes me is I certainly watch streaming services, but if you ask me what service it was on, I'm sorry to say often I couldn't tell you. I know what the program is. I don't necessarily know what the service is. What's the role of brands? We used to know ESPN. We used to know CNN. I'm not sure if we know the brands in streaming as well.
The strongest brands today are the shows themselves, and often the creators. You know, I was the media consultant for Succession on HBO.
Congratulations.
They were an incredible group. I mean, Jesse Armstrong, who was the creator and showrunner, a phenomenal guy and a wonderful manager for all of the managers who might be watching this, really understood how to empower a team to yield amazing results. I mean, no ego there. But he is sitting pretty because if you are a streaming service witnessing 24% churn year over year, you need retention. And shows like Succession or White Lotus or Andor or pick 'em, they are retention magnets. That's what keeps users there. That said, users are completely promiscuous. I just saw a survey, I think it was Publishers Clearinghouse did a survey, and they found that only less than 7% of viewers plan to keep the subscription service that they are currently subscribed to. So what that means is consumers completely understand their ability to float from service to service in search of the shows that they want.
But does that suggest there's what we would call in the financial world a maturity mismatch? On the one hand, you have to make long-term commitments to creators, to the actors, to the writers, the producers, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on these series. At the same time, on the revenue side, you don't have the assurance of the cable dollars coming in.
And think about this. Added to that, the most popular network on television today is YouTube. Everyone's smart TV, you power it up, you can watch not only traditional broadcast, but you can watch internet channels. So YouTube has something like 160 million regular viewers. Their viewership dwarfs Netflix, Disney Plus, Max combined.
Let me add a further complication to this, and that's artificial intelligence. Right now we have the writers on strike. We've got issues about SAG after whether they go out. And as I understand, artificial intelligence and its role in the creative process is key to that element. What is artificial intelligence likely to do to all of this?
So AI, and I ran an AI company that Apple acquired a couple of years ago, and it's now Apple's media intelligence division. AI can be a very useful tool to creators, enabling them to make projects that look every bit as good as the most lavish, high-end, productions on any of the services, which is going to unleash another tide of creativity. On the other hand, it can result in efficiencies for the studios and the networks, so they can outsource some of the creative process. Computer-generated graphics can work faster. Graphic creation can happen more quickly. The clash that you're seeing with the writers and the actors is that, of course, that means that the studios and networks may require fewer people. And how many people in a writer's room is one of the big issues in the Writers Guild strike. And that's not because AI robots are going to be writing scripts. It's because the networks are staring down the barrel of severely reduced revenues coming in, and all this uncertainty that we're talking about is what all these executives are dealing with every day. I'm sure all the people out at Sun Valley were going in for the massages and, to just try to relax, whatever, mud baths they might take, because they need it, because they know something is coming their way. They just don't know what, but they can't commit long term to the same financial structure that they have been working under all along.
So finally, Jon, here on Wall Street Week, we try to address the investor. What does the investor need to know, think about? The long-term investor who's a serious investor. From what you know, because you've done the basic cable, the traditional, if I can put it that way, media, the big guys in CNN, you've done a series of projects now. You're an entrepreneur in media, in streaming and otherwise. If you were advising an investor right now who decided they wanted to invest in media, what would you tell them?
You know, I think the high end of these markets is going to be safe for a while. With any kind of innovation versus incumbency, the incumbent's advantage is they occupy the high ground. And when you look at the high ground in media, it's those lavish blockbusters. And that's, you know, the fact that Disney owns Marvel it means they can be pushing out those franchises and Star Wars and all of that. So franchises are going to matter. So looking at entities that own rights and own IP for a while at the high end. I think the middle and the low end is going to be questionable. Also, given what a must-have access to the internet is for all these consumers, for their Spotify and their Netflix, et cetera, providers of internet service one way or another, whether it's satellite or fiber or what have you, are still going to see a lot of growth. And I think you're seeing that in some of the results lately, and we'll continue to see that.